And so that brings us to our fourth match. It's Jarla taking on Seiko in this one. And I'd say pretty important matches for these two. The first one being that Jarla is looking to get off on a great footing here, looking for a 4-1 start. And for Seiko, I would say that he wants to keep putting up some points on the board. You know, still in the hunt to duplicate what he had last season, and then +1 that by actually getting through to the global finals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the record's 3-1 for Jarla and 2-2 for Seiko up until this point. These two players were in the same division last season as well. Seiko won both of their previous meetings, so he is currently 2-0 lifetime in Grandmasters against Jarla specifically. But this is a pretty Jarla-looking lineup, I would say. Perhaps the Bomb Warrior not being Control Warrior is a little bit of a surprise considering how we've described him over the past few weeks. But Priest is in there because, of course, it's Priest. But then Warrior and Holy Wrath Paladin, it seems to be right about where I'd put Jarla.
Yeah, I mean, I like Bomb Warrior right now. I think that it's just a solid deck. It has a lot of counterplay to some of the stronger decks that are out there. I think it gives you the option to still fight against Priest okay, while at the same time, if you think that Holy Wrath Paladin is one of the forces to be reckoned with, which, guess what? It's strong against Shaman, and so you can anticipate players bringing decks like that. That means Bomb Warrior has a good matchup in that spot, too. I think it was piloted pretty magnificently from Hunter Ace's side to make use of it. Got a little bit of good fortune towards the middle and end stages of the game with great recognition as well. But I think Bomb Warrior's still good. It's just a very solid thing with a lot of efficient tools. And that's what I'm looking for out of my Warrior decks.
Well, speaking of Warrior decks, we are going to be looking at two of them. It is Control Warrior on Seiko's side, Bomb Warrior as described over on Jarla's.
Bit of a kicker in this one, too, as Jarla has included is Archivist Elysiana in the Bomb Warrior deck. And so that natural footing, I think, that Seiko would have towards the end, perhaps that's offset. And +1 even. A lot of times Seiko is looking to use his Archivist Elysiana to override just the bombs that are in the deck. So I'll be curious to see how that changes or affects the way that Jarla approaches the matchup.
Yeah, in a weird way, it actually moves the edge in fatigue significantly over to Jarla's side because he's the one that can afford to wait and wait and wait and do it at the last possible moment. Whereas, as you mentioned, Seiko kind of has to be worried about the contents of his deck just getting too loaded up with bombs towards the end. It's kind of the dynamic that we saw in Season 1, even when it wasn't a true mirror. Both players were choosing to play Elysiana. And it's been a very different dynamic recently in Season 2 of Grandmasters because Elysiana's been nerfed. It's not really been included ever so often in Bomb Warrior. They've been generally playing a leaner list, and Tomb Wardens had to come in. They had to find space to play those two Tomb Wardens on most occasions. So Jarla finding space for that Elysiana is very, very interesting to me.
A lot of the space has been made with Shield Block and Shield Slam. I think that was the one thing that you didn't necessarily need with Bomb Warrior anymore. You had tools that fit the dynamic that you wanted more.
It's interesting because to hear Hunter Ace say that that lack of card draw on Silvername's part was one of the things that he felt like he could exploit, and it just reduced the consistency of the deck.
Yeah, hot take. I don't believe that. I think putting in extra cards that fit your curve, I think that's what creates consistency. Taking turn 3 off to Shield Block in my Bomb Warrior deck's not exactly my idea of a good time. Or taking off turn 4 to play anything, or turn 5, or turn 6, or turn 7, or turn 8. It's pretty much the secret paladin of the days of yore. You would just want to play stuff through 9. Thanks, Frightened Funky. That was pretty interesting to me that Seiko opted for the cheap variant off the Frightened Flunky Discover.
I must choose.
That Seiko did, sorry?
Yeah, that Seiko. He had the option for like Moshog Enforcer, like just a bunch of kind of dumb big stuff.
Right.
No tomb can hold me.
Like a lot of times the dumb big stuff's very powerful in these matchups.
I imagine he's just concerned with losing the early battle just because of the greater density of, small drops that Jarla does have in his deck, those extra Elix and so on coming in.
Makes a lot of sense.
He just wants to be able to play things early, not fall behind, and then he thinks he can take over later on if it comes to it.
Has some splash benefit with the 1/1s into hand and Armegadillo.
Yeah, I guess that is a possibility.
I love that. That was the first actual new Warrior deck I had built. I was like, I'm going into the fray. I'm playing Taunt Warrior. search client taunt. Start clicking.
Yeah, spoilers. Not a very good deck. Turns out when you're trying to curve out and play a tempo deck, but all your minions are understated because they have Taunt, it doesn't work very well.
You say that now. One Weapons Project, one Harrison Jones in the list for Seiko. I would say a staple of Control Warrior at this point.
Yeah, based on the metagame that we have, the fact that Holy Wrath Paladin is around, the fact that Bomb Warrior has started to come back, the fact that last week there was a lot of Rogue, so people might expect there to be Rogue this week. However, inexplicably, there is just 0.
Yo, real talk, what happened?
I don't know.
0 out of 48 players that have to bring 4 decks each. 0 rogues.
31% of the field was Rogue last week. This week, it's 0. Sorry, 31% of the field was Rogue, and this week that has fallen to exactly 0.
Why? It felt so good. Every time I play against that deck, I just lose.
Scared of Warriors, scared of Shamans. That's about all I got for you.
You can't be scared. You can't be scared, Sottle.
Hey,
You can't be playing not to lose. You've got to play to win, Sottle. You got to go to the edge of defeat. That's where you want to be.
I was beating everything with Aggro Rogue, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Sometimes you want to bring your opponent to the edge of defeat as well, and that's kind of...
I will confess, I was high-rolling some Warriors on a very consistent basis.
He's like, Hook Scimitar, Double Deadly Poison, Greenskin. This is sweet.
What's that last card in my hand? Oh, it's Myra's!
Oh, you didn't have Weapons Project this game. Ooh, that stings, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'd say right now, Seiko's getting the better of this exchange.
I must choose.
Yeah, perfect timing on that Weapons Project just to deny that second swing of Wrench Caliber.
The patience to hit the armor button. I love watching Jarla play Warrior. It just feels like he understands so many points of the game. I like watching Seiko play Warrior because sometimes he gets aggressive and it takes a long time for me to see like why exactly he's getting aggressive sometimes. I love watching Swids play Warrior. He's a master at that mirror. All 3 of them do different things at a number of spots, and I just love to see it.
Seiko kind of loaded out the board into a perfect turn 6 3-path, which is sometimes a quite awkward card to use in the matchup. I guess with the Eternium Rover down, he's just happy to take the health total if that's what happens.
That'd be my guess. The other thing, too, is that, you know, Jarla isn't just thinking about clearing the board right now. He's thinking about, what do I do if an Armageddillo comes down?
Sure.
And so, you know, for his side, that's pretty easy. Restless Mummy used the weapon.
I wonder.
But Seiko's also putting him in position where it's like, you know what, you don't use a Warpath, you're going to get clocked for some damage here. It prevents development against him as well. A lot of benefits, I think, here to it.
No tomb can hold me.
6 armor in a turn from your opponent, though, that's the ideal. That's the ideal Eternium Rover in that spot.
This place is scary.
Well, one of those cards says Ziliax, but...
Get these off of me!
Perfect analysis.
Heroic Innkeeper had been picked 100% of the time leading up to that pick right there.
Yeah, but, you know, it's versus Ziliax.
Yeah.
Like, you know when people do those what's the best card of all time things and they pick cards against each other? Like, Ziliax just, he's in the finals.
I don't know about that one, Chief.
What card? Okay, so let's have a little contest here. What card are you pitting against Ziliax?
Can we to name cards that are better than Ziliax?
Yeah.
Haunted Creeper, Lotheb, Sunkeeper Tarim.
I'm going to disagree with all of those. Yeah.
Okay. Well then,
No
sir, we
tool
have
can
reached a
hold me.
stalemate.
It appears we're at an impasse.
No tomb can hold me.
I'm quite interested in using the weapon.
I must choose.
Such an oddly uncomfortable hand for Seiko right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you're fearing.
What now?
I'm curious how aggressively he wants to set up against Tomb Warden.
Mm-hmm.
Probably both of them? Just the one. 2 armor's just too appealing.
One in the armor up, yeah.
And for Jarla, do you want to do something before you start setting Tomb Wardens? You know, he'd love to find our Megadillo and buff him that way. So if you're going to go to a long game, too, I think that's a very realistic prospect, is to take your time on using your resources and try to find a big Armagadillo swing.
Right. Yeah, if you're going to get through your whole deck anyway, which you pretty much always are against Warrior, at least a vast majority of it, then there is much greater justification to making those kind of greedy plays.
What now?
It's all well and good just holding on to a bunch of Tomb Wardens, but if you're playing a game where you're only going to draw 15, 16 cards out of your deck, then, well, what happens when you never draw that Armagadillo? Jarla says, I want some 3/6s this turn, though.
I mean, they look good.
I must choose.
I just can't see attacking that 1/1. He's trying to find a reason for it. He's like,
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Yeah. Right now, Seiko just feels like he's just occupying time until he can get to turn 10, where his hand actually comes alive.
It's like the Warrior MO.
What
I guess so,
now?
yeah.
Occupy time.
It sure does that.
Yep. It's very good at creating eternal friendships with this deck. Your opponent just has to sit there and keep playing against you. They don't, like, what are they just going to quit? Quitter. Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants to be that.
Seiko gives up a Plague of Wrath, which again I think fits with this idea of just filling space, just finding his way to turn 10 and then hoping that his hand quality will increase.
And seeing how Seiko reacted to Tomb Warden, I imagine the second one's got to interest Jarla. Such a big difference when you know that your opponent doesn't have Super Collider in the deck, is that those just become so much better on their own.
Yeah, especially now you are pressuring down the potential Dr. Boom turn as well.
Yeah, this is the turning him over was my question mark as well. There's a lot of benefits to the hold, which is like namely having reactive pressure at some point. Jarla has to be careful with resources because there are definitely fewer of them overall. He has many more cards that are dedicated to dealing damage.
What now?
This is a huge whiff of a turn on Seiko's side. There is just nothing doing right now.
Yeah, you're not exactly stoked about using a Shield Slam here, so try to find an alternative.
You're not really stoked about using a Warpath here either.
Now.
It's about the best you got.
Just pay the toll. Take the damage.
Yep.
I must choose. Job done.
Try to turn this into 2 extra life. Try to innovate armor up.
Good old 1/1 taunt.
This place is scary.
Wow, it's like a real choice.
It is, yeah. Curve reasoning, Senjin, or just take the highest quality minion, which is the Sunwalker. Jarla decides the latter.
Is my shield.
I think with multiple 4-drops in his hand, Sunwalker was actually just a better option for Curve as well anyway on any given turn. Including this one. Oh, where were you, buddy?
I'm pretty happy it's here right now.
Nah, he's late. See that misery of a turn that Seiko had last turn?
Do you remember the video where he said just wait till it kicks into second gear?
Yeah.
Yeah, it took a bit,
I'm
but
so glad.
just wait till next turn, all right? We'll get to second gear.
Fair enough. Yep. Jarla with the face of a man who has just got Dr. Boomed in the Warrior Mirror with his nowhere in sight. I think Bomb Warrior does have games still to overcome this sometimes. They can just continue being aggressive and holding onto the board.
Okay, then.
Problem is, Seiko's hand has now transformed from a big pile of nothing to a big pile of stuff that stops Jarla from keeping the board.
Yep, and I've said it a number of times. It is so much more important on the Bomb Warrior side than it is on the Control Warrior side. The nature of it is that Control Warrior's trying to slow the game down and stop everything that's happening. The Bomb Warrior's trying to speed that up and push through. If you're facing down a Dr. Boom as a Bomb Warrior, that doesn't work as well. If you're facing down a Dr. Boom as a Control Warrior, you keep buying time. That's it.
Right.
Inevitability is supposed to be the engine of Control Warrior.
Yeah, I think the more important boom for the Bomb Warrior to draw in the matchup is Blastmaster. But right now, Jarla has neither, nor does he have a significant amount of bomb pressure. He does have a meager board that he's pushing with, but that is what Dr. Boom Mad Genius takes care of in his sleep. Does a second
Okay,
warpath
then.
get used here to enable the board clear?
Yeah, I could totally see it. I mean, you know, the longer that nothing's happening, kind of the better, but it's just not really... Seiko has just tended to not play that way. He's tended to be, like, pretty aggressive. And so it's not too surprising to me to see him just spend mana, use the laser, and say, what do I need this vicious scrap hound for? I'm the one
that's
with
fair.
Dr. Boom in play.
It's fair, this does seem better. Yep.
Oh, wrong 9.
Yeah, that's the danger. That one's just going to be sitting dead in the hand for quite some time now. Still useful in the matchup to have it, though. Because I think his primary win condition, just turn by turn, is getting further and further away. So he may just have to reset to that long game plan now.
It does seem, though, as he anticipated this happening. Like, he's been quite careful with resources. He's been very deliberate on handling positions.
Right.
The Tomb Wardens were there to occupy time on Seiko's side. Is the direction this ended up taking for him.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think it's a smart way of like looking at the matchup in a vacuum because, as I said, with just the one Elysiana in each deck, I do think the Bomb Warrior has the advantage because generally, on average, they're going to be pushing pressure. There's going to be a bunch of bombs in the deck. And the Control Warrior is the one that might have to panic and Elysiana a few cards early, which then hands the long game advantage back over to the Bomb Warrior. So I think it's a decent way to lay out the strategy. It's just that hasn't found anything to really get pressure going.
Yeah, to me, it just felt like almost everything went Seiko's way up to this point. Like, he was getting all the little check marks, and just things keep adding up.
Boom Reaver. Off the Omega Assembly. And now the opportunity to start buffing up that Ziliax as well. Whether he wants to wait for more value, though, who knows?
See, that to me is the question. Is I feel like with the amount of pressure that Seiko really hasn't been under, that he might be free to wait in this situation. Like, you can use little tiny, you know, dumb, useless mechs to get this job done. And wait on that Armagadillo. Like, wait for the prime moment for that to just be such a major impact.
Okay, then. Somebody order a bomb.
Seiko doesn't have any flunkies left though, so it is just those two Mordants that he's left waiting for and any additional delivery drone Discoverer mechs.
Push the damage.
I love Faithful Lumi.
I just love when I see players prioritize even a single point of damage.
Hey, he just spent his mana, right? Just get it done.
How do I stop getting chipped away? How do I make sure that I have ways to handle other waves of pressure? Ah, those are tough questions. Whew.
I wonder.
I don't see anything I'm happy with if I'm in Jarla's spot. Everything costs something. Feels like Warpath's the weakest card.
What's
It does. It was also the case earlier in a position where he turned it down, though.
No tomb can hold me.
Restless Mummy surprises me a little bit. Actually, no, it doesn't matter because he's hit 10 now anyway. I was going to say, like, I feel like Restless Mummy is the lowest opportunity cost card to lose, but it is your go-to answer to, you know, must-kill minions like Armageddillo, but because he's hit 10 now, and he has that Omega Devastator in hand, I think the Restless Mummy does make sense as the most expendable card in that hand.
How does Seiko think about that as well? Like, that's been in the hand the whole game. That's what he thinks about it.
He thinks he's going to spend his mana.
It's not the most exciting brawl in the world.
You don't often get enormously exciting brawls against Warrior, though.
Pretty exciting outcome, though.
Yeah.
That is some breathing room. Contest with the 1-3 while your opponent does not have a hero power that handles it. And how aggressive can Seiko get against that? Does he want to get aggressive?
I really see an aggressive push play here that I'm a big fan of. Yeah, I mean, he's still doing about the most aggressive thing that he can do reasonably, which is just rush the Dynamatic into it. It's a bad card anyway in the matchup. Outside of that, I think every card he has remaining is too valuable. If he's already established that the Armageddillo is not getting played until it has more value. Like with that taken as a given, which I think you can go back and discuss that from earlier, but now that he's established that plan, I don't think any of these cards are playable apart from the Dynamatic that turn.
Seeing that Dynamatic, though, that prompts Jarla. Says, it's time. Oh, boy.
Oof.
Oh, boy.
The only time discovering an unpowered Steambot has been welcome in the Warrior Mirror, apparently.
Why would he take the Steambot?
Snip, snap base.
Yeah. Oh, my. I just saw that Dynamatic, and I was like, hey! And I was like, wait a minute. Why did he take the Steambot?
Yep.
Ooh, it makes sense. You're getting pumped up by the Armageddillo.
He's just going to buff it up, he's going to drop it down, and if it sticks, he's going to slap all the snip snaps on that thing.
Well, spoiler alert, unpowered Steambot usually is not a priority kill. And he's getting the priority kill out ahead of time with the Armageddillo.
Did Jarla just draw the first bomb of the game, by the way, as the player playing against a control warrior? As bomb warrior?
Yeah.
All right.
You know.
I just want that known.
Okay. This is reality. Just want everyone to be aware.
Yeah.
Man, oh gosh, just the hand is starting to bleed out for Jarla. Like, everything important is being used.
No card draw, 1 at Mega Assembly. It can happen.
I just cannot imagine not killing that when you see the laser go off.
I think the consideration might have been whether he wants to use his second Brawl there and take the risk to preserve an Omega Devastator for the late game, because it's just a better tempo swing card, whereas Brawl is just a I'm behind now and I'm going to stay behind later on kind of card.
Not a snip stat base at all, just a 2/11.
All right.
Just gets in the way.
Sure.
I will be curious to see if this is a triple snip snap, which if you're attaching that way, I think it is. Pull them both out of range and connect base. Or trade and connect base. So that plays around some Ziliak's impact.
Yeah. I think when your opponent doesn't have Dr. Boom, like trading mechs off the board goes up in priority, right? Because they can't just rush big mechs from hand and put Ziliak's down on them anyway.
No rushes left in the deck for that Town Crier to get. That honestly was the draw, I think, that it just crippled Jarla's progress towards the end game. It was just like, you did absolutely nothing to change your hand with that draw.
What now?
Yeah, I feel like he's struggling to find a way out of this properly.
And I am too, to be perfectly honest.
It's getting that take big risks territory, which you definitely don't want to do because you just haven't really prompted Seiko on anything.
Yeah, and the risks that you take here, it's not even like a huge payout risk, right? Like sometimes you just say, all right, you know, I'm going to win like a 1 in 6 brawl, and if I do, I stick a 6/6 to the board. Like, no, it's all the risks just have all downside right now. This is just about the best thing that Jarla's got, which is start doing his primary game plan, just getting some bombs into the deck, but he just can't even contest this board. Don't think we're seeing that shield block get played anytime soon.
I'd be surprised.
Or in fact, ever.
This would be a good
Maybe
time
post
for a
Elysium.
master plan.
We'll see.
2/11 taunt.
What a guy.
It's just beautiful. You know, I was going to mention this too. I was like, maybe it does though. Seiko just plays differently than everybody else. Literally first play this turn shield block.
Fair enough.
They all have different things that they do. And I can't figure it out. Protect the minions, go face.
Job done.
Ow.
Have your Elec. See if I care. Jarla still has 1 Wrench Caliber remaining and 1 Clockwork Goblin remaining in the deck. That's a big call in terms of bomb count. It's also a big call in terms of damage push to Jarla. And I respect it. I think Seiko is smelling blood. He just saw a turn pass where his 6/7 didn't get killed. So he says, all right, I'm going to keep shipping this into your face and make you have a way to deal with it.
It's been such a common game plan for him. Contest board, get threat. Opponent didn't contest threat, compound issue.
Yeah, desperation, throwing that Town Crier into the brawl. He needs the Death Rattles to die because I think his intention is now to warpath these away afterward. There's the payout. There's the payout for the 1-2.
That's a big deal. Without that, that time was going to be cut very short. And even with, that time might be cut very short. Jarla's found a spot where Dr. Boom Mad Genius, I think, could give him some game. But it's got to be now.
Right.
Perhaps Blastmaster Boom extends that by a turn.
A Mega Assembly as well maybe gives him something to do.
He's got to find a big draw next turn.
Yep. And there is a few of them in the deck. So from Seiko's side, if we've learned anything about Seiko, I feel like he's playing minions this turn. God, there are some underwhelming minions. Whoa, okay.
Takes away the Blastmaster Boom.
Assembly.
Mount Seller.
Mount Seller with the Assembly. Boom Reaver with the Mount Seller.
Oh my gosh.
Boom! 4 Boom Reavers!
That Elysiana is insane!
This dude is just playing 2 7/8s for the rest of the game now. That's what's happening.
And Dr. Boom gets found on Jarla's side. Can he fight this off? If he can fight this off, like, he can win. If he can find tools to actually blow up Seiko's stuff, he will win the game.
Yes.
But that is going to be tough because Seiko's hand is good right now and his deck is stacked to the brim. He's got 32 damage on Soul Thrazes and massive minions to boot with 2 Omega Assemblies.
Which, by the way, is Dr. Boom even the obvious play this turn? Because
No.
it does involve just taking 7 right back in the face if you play it.
It's not. And honestly, you might not be playing it this turn. However, I feel like I don't even know anymore, man. Like, this is just so hard. Like, you have to be thinking to yourself, Seiko's hand is insane. Why else would he play the Archivist Elysiana?
Good point.
Light the fuses.
He's doing it. Killing the Elysiana. Holding off on the Dr. Boom.
It's a good turn to do it.
They need to stack.
Yes. The health, I think, is very important.
3 extra health.
It was 5 extra, or 3 extra health. It's also, yeah, I think I would have stacked it. And the reason I would have stacked it is because there's no shield slams left on the other side.
But we just established Seiko's hand must be insane, or else why would he Elysiana?
That's a true story.
Doesn't that always contain an Omega Devastator?
I mean, if you don't stack them, does it make a difference? It's kind of the same thing.
2 less health on the Omega Devastator.
I love as right as you say that. Seiko's like, nah, I'm not going to stack them. And then the Blastmaster Boom gets drawn.
That's a War Golem.
Did Seiko's timing just pay out so well? Unimpactful hero power on Jarla's side.
2
Boom
7/9s. 2 7/9s. Every turn.
And Jarla's used both brawls.
It could have been the Mount Seller, but you just got to say it with confidence and it happens.
He can't win.
This is scary.
There's no way to fend this off.
If that was another Steambot, I would have actually lost it.
Wow. That is... I wasn't... he just does weirdly aggressive stuff, and every single time he's so good at his timing, he just knew. Granted, the Elysiana was insane, but he knew that the 7/7 gave him the swing back pressure with the Omega Devastator and the Ziliax alongside it, and said, this neutralizes Blastmaster Boom, it makes Dr. Boom Mad Genius hard to play, that gives me an opportunity to run away with this game. And that is exactly what happened. That is such good foresight.
See, if we were smart, we would have got there, because we spent that turn saying, well, Jarla needs a big draw next turn. Then we went, okay, what are the big draws? Dr. Boom Mad Genius, Blastmaster Boom, maybe Omega Assembly. Those were the big draws. As you've just described, that play of jamming the Elysiana shut off one of those draws, Blastmaster Boom. That just became a War Golem. In the face of Dr. Boom Mad Genius being drawn, it was about the best thing he could do because it represented the most pressure coming back the other way. An Omega Assembly, kind of the same deal. Unless there was an Omega Devastator coming out of it, he was having a 7/7 stuck to the board, crashing away. So if we'd have just extended that thought process to the next logical step, we might have got there. But Seiko was just 2 steps ahead the whole time.
We could see the hands and we're not landing on that.
Yeah.
Seiko cannot.
Yeah.
He cannot see the hand. And he's just like, yeah, override 8 cards in my deck with Elysiana.
Yeah.
It was so good.
And then the universe rewards him with the nuts Elysiana.
Yeah. See, that's why you take risks.
Yeah.
Karma exists, okay? It gets it. Everyone wanted to see the Elysiana. The world follows suit.
Yeah.
We're going to a break. When we come back, we're getting into game number 2 of Jarla vs. Seiko. Seiko's Warriors now out of contention because we're playing Conquest here. It's our 4th match of the day, so stay tuned. We got one afterwards.
Legends say powerful treasures are hidden everywhere here in Aldum.
If we hope to defeat Rafam, we'll need as many as we can get. He's already unleashed the ancient plague lords and countless monsters. Keep them distracted, Reno.
Not a problem. This plan is totally gonna work. Ain't that right, Finley?
Oh, yes! I have them right, Red Eye!
There is an artifact here. The name is...
The scales of justice. Oh, it must be really fancy.
only to be used in a time of great peril. Yes, I think this qualifies.
Hey, look, Finley! You've lured one of the Plague Lords!
Take this, fiend!
In the face! Yeah! Hey, guys! Get that treasure! We've got a Plague Lord to destroy!
Get these, Harry!
Not to worry, Finley. We just push this thing right here.
No, that's a trap! Watch out!
It's all good. I am phonily timed.
Gracious me!
What we actually need to do is press this. And there. A fish.
No! It's the scales of justice!
Ah, who wants to use it first?
Oh, I do! Me! On second thoughts, maybe give it to Finley?
All you had to do was hold a rope.
Here we go, blaming the tall, ruggedly handsome guy again.
My name is Christos Sakopoulos. My username comes from when I was a kid. I used to go to like an internet cafe with my friends to play like, I remember WoW and stuff like that. And I just had to make a character one day, and one of my friends said, your plays are phenomenal, so you can just put the name Phenomenal there. And I just did it, and then it just stuck. The thing that's unique about my playstyle, I feel, is that I sometimes think about stupid plays that other people would never even consider, and I try to get something out of it. I think people don't pay attention to details like trading or going face. I really pay attention to those things because I think it's super important. Like even one bad trade can cost you the game a lot of times. My favorite memory was definitely when I won my first Hearthstone tournament last year in HCT Orange County. And doing that just gave me so much more confidence and made me feel like I was free again. I'd say being in Grandmasters means that I've made it to the top players of Europe, which has always been my goal. So yeah, I'm looking forward to start competing again.
It's Hearthstone Grandmasters for Europe, and you're joining us amidst our fourth match of the day with Jarla taking on Seiko right now. I'm Nathan, that's Admirable Zamora, joined by Simon Sottle Welch. And Sottle, we just had a nice relaxing warrior mirror match where everything at the end, the table got flipped, and all the cards went in the middle, and Seiko came out on top with a crazy-looking Elysiana with 8 cards left in deck, but was quite calculated, it appeared, at the end.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've got to experience the Elysiana versus Elysiana dynamic in the Bomb Warrior versus Control. Bomb Warrior versus Control Warrior specifically, because the Bomb Warrior has been the one that's been cutting it from the list predominantly to make room for just some more aggression, more curve, etc. But in that case, Seiko had it right. We had it wrong. Just straight up. Like, that was the play, for sure.
Take the lead. And so now, Seiko's going to be on Quest Shaman. He's going to be taking on Jarla with the good old combo priest. Seiko has gone with the mixture of all 3 opinions, which I find quite interesting in this one. He's got 1 Giggling Inventor, 1 Former Champ, and 1 Youthful Brewmaster.
Oh, I don't like that.
Along the set of 27. Well, you don't like it because you like 2 ofs, but elaborate why you actually don't like it.
No, that is exactly why I don't like it. Yes.
Oh. Well, that's dumb.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add to that.
Fair enough.
Really tough matchup for Seiko.
Mogu Flesh Shaper is a big kicker in a lot of spots. Be a massive tempo swing on the board if you can find a mutate to go with it.
Job done.
A lot of 1-2s and 1-3s that need trading into in the early game. And even if you have to pay 3 or 4 for it and you have that mutate coming down alongside it, it can be a massive, massive swing. Novice Engineer, not quite so good as the early starter.
So Jarla pitch away Light Warden to start, and I really like that. You know, one of the strongest things that Seiko's going to do on turn 2 is play Questing Explorer. One of the weakest things you can do against that is play a turn 1 Light Warden.
Yeah, it's not only Questing Explorer, it's also just Sludge Slurper plus Lackey on turn 2, which can deal with a Light Warden. It struggles a lot more with dealing with Nausea Cleric, for example, because that takes Kobold Lackey out of the equation, and the 2 drops, specifically Injured Tolvir, again, interacts a lot better with that kind of spot.
Coin Injured, and with Bonsomdi, I think Jarla can be pretty interested in taking this game on its face value. Make efficient trades, take your time, let Bonsomdi do some of the heavy lifting.
He does also have a Divine Spirit and an Inner Fire in his hand, which can indicate the opposite.
It's true.
Long story short, Seiko needs to start fighting back against this board sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, back's already up against the wall. I have found that Weaponized Wasp has been very crucial in a lot of my wins.
Absolutely agree.
Hope you like my invention.
Which I think makes this sequencing important because you might talk yourself into a Sludge Slurper there, but I think still I would play the Lackey because if you draw a Sludge Slurper specifically, you have another Lackey generator in hand for if you draw a Weaponized Wasp later on anyway.
Also guarantees that you have the option for Mogu Flesh Shaper next turn. Jarla really, unless he's going to go for a Pyromancer turn, which that's going to be quite rare here.
Soft guarantee, yeah.
Yeah. Just wild Pyro Inner Fires. I'm like, whoa!
I mean, it is a really, really important card. Like, I would very much consider playing around it in a lot of situations as Priest. Because that 3 extra damage being added to the board is one thing, but then when it turns into an 8-drop afterwards, that's the kind of tempo swing that Priest can struggle to deal with.
Must consider.
Always thinking about Mutate. I mean, is he actually thinking about it? There's no way he's actually thinking about that,
I think you think about it.
Quickly.
Okay, I like thinking about this.
I also agree that this is a far superior way to play around the same effect, because now it's just an 8-drop being played. It's not an 8-drop that's killed your thing.
Why did it hit for 10? Its hero power is healed too. It just feels so weird to me. Spots like these, I feel like our Y players often include like an Earth Shock or a Plague of Murlocs or what have you. And I think in an open decklist format, those actually have more merit than they do in a closed decklist format.
Because Jarla would look at a situation like this and potentially just go, oh, I can't just make a 10-10. What if he has that 1-of Earthshock in his deck? And it actually puts the fear of God into the opponent in terms of making these big plays, even though it might be technically correct in a lot of spots still. The ironic evil cable.
There's little time.
Yeah, Seiko's just fighting. Just take 20 and hope this works.
Yeah, short story. Seiko's taking 10 again next turn.
I think he's considering the trades because of like a Divine Spirit with like a Topsy or Divine Spirit Interfire just closing it right away.
Considering taking the damage off the trades now because Wild Pyromancer can reduce his board size. And
that as well.
Turns it down in the end.
I think right to do so. You need minions in play.
Mogu Flesh Shaper, currently sitting in hand.
So for Jarla, turn's pretty dead.
As dead as hit you for 10 ever is,
Well,
yes.
I just meant like on further actual plays. Like,
no, I understand.
Yeah.
But it just still sounds silly. 10 you. Oh, bad turn. Oof.
Well, so, I mean, sometimes, yeah. I mean, this deck doesn't play any burn. Like, it doesn't have any way to reach outside of connecting a minion. And if Seiko's able to, you know, wrestle the board back, that's the nightmare situation for Jarla. That's why he went in on this, is he's like, it's tough for him to do it now, so let's keep making it as tough as I can.
I feel like you just play the Blade Master here. I don't think it's a real, like, big commitment to board, because if it gets killed anyway, like, worst case scenario, what happens here? Like,
well, there's 10 sitting in play right now. So a heal pulls you out of that
you're right.
range.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I completely failed to count that. That is my bad. In that case, you absolutely heal. Did not give that credit for being 10 damage in play.
Seiko in a really tense spot here. I mean, he is offered the opportunity of a clear.
Yep. And he is honestly not far away from being in a position where he's taken 10 twice and is going to win the game. Because that Giggling Inventor in hand, if he can get all the way to that, that's about all the security he needs. Master Spell, not a card, really, in Inner Fire Priest any longer.
Yeah, the Wild Pyromancer is the one question mark I had on Jarla's side. I mean, you do need to keep fighting and you want to keep chipping away.
The last big hurdle he's going to have to overcome is these Psychopomps coming down from Jarla, because that is a lot of refill. And then that Wild Pyromancer becomes a question mark as well, because you don't want that coming back.
I think he's wise to take his time here and go with the Evil Totem instead. You need tools. I think that the Sandstorm Elemental plays a very critical role at some point in this game.
Oh, Ethereal Lackey. Earth Shocks can be incredibly clutch here.
Thinking the injured is a little bit better this turn. Just have a Wild Pyro in your pool with the Psychopomp.
I know. 50% of the time you do get the 2/6. And then your 3/1 is protected anyway. Still a little vulnerable to Sandstorm Elemental, I guess.
I think you convinced me. I like the Psychopomp. I wasn't even thinking about the Sandstorm Elemental. I was just thinking about only getting a 3/2.
Yeah. I feel like if you play Blade Master, you can expect Shaman to just kill your Blade Master, and then you don't have a board anymore.
What do they kill it with, though?
Weaponized Wasp? What's the quest at? Hang on.
5.
Check. Is it 5?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm on the you gotta have it now train. This also puts a 4/7 in the pool.
Yeah.
You know, we're still gonna be looking at some 50-50 territory with the Psychopomps, but put him to the test. That just feels like the MO of this deck at all times. Constantly test your opponent.
Fair enough.
Feels like the weakness I have is the Shaman, too. Constantly being tested.
Tough decision now for Seiko. Does he need a spell right now that he wants to play this turn and have that be his turn, or does he want to complete quest, potentially take the 4, and then double up on spells later on for more late game resources?
So Lightning Bolt here offers kind of a clear, I guess. I don't think you're too terribly concerned about the 2-1 sticking around. You are thinking about Psycho Pomp.
What to do?
Yeah, so Lightning Bolt, Hero Power, and the Sandstorm Elemental.
Because that Ethereal Lackey completes the quest.
Yep.
If you use the Sandstorm Elemental, though, that delays the Giggling Inventor.
But if you use either the Lightning Bolt or the Sandstorm Elemental, that delays the Giggling Inventor.
So use both.
So if you're going to do either, do both, exactly.
Job done.
Now it's Psycho Pomp time.
Whoa. I'm just looking at the next 2 turns. Because Jarla's not under pressure. All he has to do now is slow the game down.
Left in me.
Easy enough to do. You Ahmet with all the 1-drops in your deck, in your hand, because of that Bwansamdi, that is going to be tough for Psycho.
It is. Psycho's going to have a lot of Annoytron summons this game, though, if it stretches out that long.
That's the other thing, too, is you're facing down 7 right now. You're at 12. You can't do anything.
Right.
I wonder.
Best he can do is get himself an Ethereal Lackey back.
Can pull back Sandstorm, pull away 3 of that damage. Still lets you play the Psychotron. I'm sorry, the Giggling Inventor next turn.
That's fair.
Psychotron. Why did my head go to Psychotron? That card is... What the heck?
What to do?
Drink with me,
I don't know. My head's at Spell Lackey this game. I don't know why, but that's just what it's telling me.
Psycho's head is always on get more stuff in play.
Oh!
That's a good way to protect yourself. And Jarla can't ignore that, I don't think.
Life Drinker, the ever-present threat now.
Just be Reno Jackson at that point.
4 mana, deal 6, heal 12. Yeah, I'll play that card. Yeah, thanks.
You will.
Yeah.
What if it costs you 6 mana?
Nah. I'm good.
Okay, well, what's the point then?
Not interested anymore.
I wonder.
You know, I do think Jarla has some interest in just cleaning up the rest of the board and maybe resetting that damage that he's done as well. You know, we heard Colento in his interview talk about potentially playing around Barista Lynchin and how not doing so may have been a way for him to lose the game.
Right.
Feels like a big talking point to me right now because I'm staring at a Barista Lynchin in hand.
Just drew 6. Just drew 6 damn cards.
Yep. I hate Sandstorm Elementals. I kill them with a passion. I do not want them back in hand. It's too good. Let him heal.
Not quite good enough to kill the 7/7 this turn. So I think it has to be a Giggler.
Psycho's got his work cut out for him this game.
Not sure if I necessarily would have traded all of those off.
Just thinking about Wild Pyro.
Well, he knows what 6 of these cards in hand are for the opponent.
Well, that's the thing, right? You have to anticipate your opponent drawing cards then. You're like, well, they have 2 Northshires, so...
So he's seen 1 Pyro, so there's 1 Pyro and 1 Psycho Pomp left in the deck. 1 is a Pyro and 1 is a Pyro sometimes. But, like, you just drew Weaponized Wasp. Like, not even accounting for the Barista Lynchin.
I would almost guarantee that he's playing Shutterwalk next turn.
Okay.
And so in my head, he wants to clear off the front part of the Reborn
Consider.
and then just find a way to try and fight back.
Dark future.
I don't think it's going to happen. Because the other thing, too, is if they have the Ahmet in hand, it means the Reborn is going to get the 7 health.
Mm-hmm.
Just feels like a lot of bad stuff can happen. I don't mind the trade. I see holding on to this stuff as well, but I think Seiko's just entering. I'm going to Shuttle Walk next turn.
Okay. Oof.
Yeah, why not?
And he has 3 attacks in play next turn now, though.
Actually, drew the life drink.
Which could potentially be a problem.
So Jarla, there's 2 things on his mind the previous turn. Number 1 is mind control tech.
I wonder.
Yeah, mind control tech's definitely always going to be a fear.
Well, next turn it's not. Next turn I feel like he's going to jam about 65 million minions in play and
Right.
them all have 18,000 health.
What to do?
This looks like a really good turn if Seiko had a lackey in play. You'd be super dead to silence, but I feel like you'd have a plan.
Rather, you feel dead to silence anyway.
Yeah, there's actually no fire or whatever to kill you, but yeah, it's very true.
He's trying to get that Giggler back.
It's not green anymore. It either died or it bounced.
Would have
Spell
died
is
to.
love versus there's a bounce. Is there no kobold lackeys in the pool?
I don't recall one.
Okay.
Ooh, you don't want to slosh those back, though.
You do not. He got, what? What is all this lifesteal, Seiko?
It did say replay your battle cries. No real way to take advantage of the healing for Jarla. That tells me with 10 cards left in deck, you go fishing.
I must consider.
Is someone injured? Is someone injured?
Just playing 116 clerics. Come on now.
Keep going.
Space out of the hand with silence. There's just so many lethal elves right now.
I think this is just guaranteed, right?
Does he draw enough to guarantee it?
I'm pretty sure it's guaranteed.
Well, there it is anyway.
I mean, he just gets to draw the rest of his deck. Like, if both circles are at the bottom, what that means is... Yeah, I just...
Yeah. He would have to have the inner fire and both circle of healings be in his bottom 4 for that not to have been guaranteed lethal that turn.
It's just insane. Like, what a weird dimension this deck has now.
He drew 6 cards from it. Like, that's insane.
I feel like Seiko fought so hard to establish himself in that game, and he got to a point where it's like, I've recovered. I can win. And it's like, well, Bwansamdi did thin out the deck by a third and load up for an Amit in that situation. So, you know, it's the 1-2 punch of the Bwansamdi and then having the High Priest Amit. But, like, my gosh, like, how is Seiko going to win that game? Like, that just... The Bwansamdi's just so good in there.
Yeah, I mean, I said it at the time that my brain just kind of went to Spell Lackey in a weird point. I think that was... I was being influenced by the fact that I could see the Armet in hand, so I knew how dire the situation was. So my brain kind of went panic mode immediately to, all right, I need to start bouncing some Ethereal Lackeys and double fish for them and just look for Earthquakes and Hexes and weird things that can potentially dig me out of this. Seiko didn't have that knowledge. He kind of had to make the decisions before he saw the Armet come down and crush the game. So I think his decision to just say, all right, my opponent has a bunch of 1-drops in their hand. If the Armet doesn't come down immediately, then I can just get a couple of turns ahead of this with Giggling Inventors and Shutterwalk and just be okay and try and push some damage. I think that's a very reasonable, justifiable way of playing out the matchup from that point. Because the first thing you're going to expect from your opponent in that position is the Clerics to come down and then draw some cards with the healing. The fact that the Armet was there alongside that, that's what changed everything. And like we could see that, Seiko couldn't. I think his game plan makes a lot of sense from the way he executed it.
I think to have that much foresight would be just kind of purely a guess at that point? Like, I think it's hard to have a hand read on that
yeah,
side as well.
there's literally no way you could get that read, so you would just be saying to myself, I can do this to play around Armet sometimes, but no, if Armet's there, you lose. Like, that's what happens.
Yeah.
So just shut your eyes and pretend it's not there.
It would demand Plague of Murlocs, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to discover. Yeah, so that's game 3 that we're going to then. Seiko was still Shaman and Druid available to him. And on Jarla's side, it's the Holy Wrath Paladin, and it's Bomb Warrior that he's got remaining against this. And so I feel like you go with the Holy Wrath Paladin here. I feel like Bomb Warrior's got 2 pretty tough-looking matchups on the other side.
That would make sense to me. Yeah, I don't really feel like I want to be playing Bomb Warrior into either of these decks. So I think Jarla is kind of locked in on the Paladin, which then means Seiko kind of has the guaranteed response of picking which either 2 decks he wants. And I would imagine of those 2, he wants Druid over Shaman.
Yeah, just got word of that one. It's going to be Jarla on Holy Wrath Paladin. Seiko's going with Quest Druid in this one.
Hey.
And so that's what we're looking at here. Seiko has gone with both Chef Nomi and with King Ferris as his top end, with no Elise the Enlightened in the package. I've been seeing that favored by a number of players this week. It seems like everyone's kind of split on where they want to land on their top end.
Yeah, no Elise is personally a little confusing to me. I'm not a huge fan of Feoris, personally. We've had this debate multiple times. I just think it's quite a low impact. I think it's a card that you allow your opponent to make low impact in a lot of matchups. And I don't think it's like game-winning enough single-handedly to just be like one of the win conditions of a deck that can play so much top end. So personally, I like the Elise being in there. But Seiko, of course, far better player than I, has chosen differently.
No surprise, King Feoris is lit. Good card.
Nah.
Jarla with a pretty solid looking opener here. He's running the list that Hunter Ace was running if you saw the previous match. Pretty different matchup that he's facing, though.
Job done.
Curious to see how much he'll prioritize early damage. Sight to behold.
Yep, perfect draw on 2 for Seiko.
Love the old turn 2 worthy expedition. Just feels right.
Starfall feels fairly irrelevant. Mark of Nature can have some impact, be it either pushing damage for pressure or just protecting yourself from true silver charges, protecting yourself from minions on board. Ancient of Law draws a card, something you're interested in.
Well, I'm looking at Seiko's hand and I see a turn 2, or a Druid turn 2 play with the Crystal Merchant, and then I'm seeing the Mark of Nature being able to fit into the Druid turn 3 effectively.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So for Jarla, start to fight.
What? You think you can take me?
I've noticed the more I've played this variant of the Holy Wrath Paladin with High Priest the Call and with Zephrys in here,
Behold,
that it does have a bit of different dynamic with hand size control, where High Priest the Call gives you something to do with coin a lot of times, and it empties your hand space so that way you can just keep chaining off cards and get to just these wonderful points in your hand spacing.
That Elven Archer has just saved Jarla's bacon. Stop this 1-4 drawing some cards. I was kind of interested in the Tempo Pyromancer on the previous turn. I know it's a big resource to have, and you definitely do need clearing power against Druid. But if he'd have played Pyromancer there and then seen the Crystal Merchant come down in response, he can then go for like Acolyte of Pain coin stuff to both kill the Crystal Merchant and deny the card, deny that and draw cards on your own side.
Yeah, see, that's where I was curious about how much he was going to prioritize damage. Like, if you're playing High Priest the Call, obviously you're prioritizing dealing damage quite a bit. Like, you want something to be on board and chip away.
Guess that's fair.
I do love that Pyromancer line, though. I mean, that tends to be the kind of way that I prioritize it, is how can I make the most use of my Acolyte? That quickly brings me to the spots where I feel like hand size becomes an issue. I'll be curious to see how the rest of this pans out.
So I think, like, dealing damage is very quickly offset by the Druid drawing cards, right? Like, you could put some weird equation on it as to how much each card the Druid draws is worth in terms of health gain. But long story short, they have 2 Ferocious Howls, 2 Hidden Oasis, plus the ability to discover more of those. Plus, if they get deep enough in their deck, the ability to duplicate those cards so that they can just cast them multiple times to get out of range of your healing. So I think denying card draw is actually a very important facet as well.
So at least the Enlightened perhaps change that?
I guess it does, yeah.
Like just the total overall approach?
I guess it does, because this specific build from Seiko without the Elise doesn't have the ability to duplicate those cards. So I guess it does change the equation quite a lot.
To be mana efficient or to get things in play?
Take 3, idiot.
So your vote is mana efficiency?
Yes. Okay, on our screen, on our screen, that arrow went at Jarla's face. I don't know what you guys saw.
I saw the eyebrow raise, and I was like, I'm just going to let him take the reins on this one because I know exactly what he's going to say.
When I said take 3, idiot, I thought I was pretty clear.
Well, yeah, you said idiot. Hammer yourself in the face.
Jarla's like, oh, that's me.
Okay. Mana efficiency pays off.
Yeah, I mean, this is why the mana efficient play was so important on the previous turn, because the getting stuff in play line on the previous turn would have meant that playing 2 cards this turn became very difficult.
2 important interactions here. Number 1, if you Wrath an Acolyte, it draws 2 cards.
Yep.
The hero...
Even though the 3 goes first,
yes,
it still draws 2
that
cards.
New hero power combines the effect. The minion does not die until the effect resolves. Same with Starfall. If you Starfall the Acolyte here, it will draw 2 cards. So the way to shut that down is via combat and combat only.
Hell yeah. Love combat. There's some combat for you.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly looking, but it'll get the job done. Jarla's going to go fishing here with Blood Mage. Not the 2 he was looking for.
So the only way he gets to leverage this Acolyte this turn is with a timeout? Ugh.
Do it. Do it.
That is deeply unpleasant.
Look, you're going to play the timeout. You're going to draw Christology. You're going to be happy with your world.
All right, that works too.
Yeah, all right. That's much better.
It's acceptable. Finds a Novice. Flipping with 5, though. Okay.
So Thumb's got to get thrown away here.
The light
Easy choice.
Yep. Finally, some gas for Seiko.
Always does the 3 first. Whatever option it appears as first is the order it'll go. So mild weakness to Divine Shield stuff. You're not too worried about it.
Nope. 10 cards in hand, which means something needs to be committed before this Prismatic Lens can be used.
Yeah, it's tough to use the Prismatic Lens on this turn pretty much at all.
Yep. Don't want a Pyro. You don't want a Zephyrus.
It's that classic miserable turn 7 play.
You could timeout.
I think you have some justification for putting the Novice in here. Like 7 mana is like easily one of the weakest turns I have found in Holy Wrath Paladin. Like just bar none. You take this time, spend the Novice Engineer. I think you're free to use the Shrink Ray afterwards and try to figure it out from there.
I don't want to take 13.
That's why I want a Shrink Ray.
Okay. Okay.
I'll be curious to see how he cooks this up, though.
I hope you like my invention.
Yeah, that's almost certainly spelling the Shrink Ray in that case.
must move quickly.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just turn 7 in this deck is ugly. As soon as they print some sort of card that fills up turn 7 on this deck, it's going to be ridiculously busted. And that Mark of Nature looking all the way back to turn 2. It has found its time. Oh, you want to make me take 3, do you, idiot? Take 4.
It's the old 3-mana blessing of Kings.
Christology drawn. I imagine we're approaching a timeout turn.
Yep, looks like it. With the Shrink Ray spent on the previous turn, he has no major board clear remaining to take care of this. However, what does his Christology even draw at this point?
That's a good question. That's exactly what I was checking as you said that.
He has 2 Novices drawn, he has the Blood Mage
Actually,
drawn, he has the Elven Archer drawn. It doesn't draw anything,
Yeah,
right?
it just empties hand space for... Wow. And that draw is exactly, yep, Wild Pyromancer, I believe. Yeah, that's the last minion in the deck right there.
So he has to rip the timeout, but he's still lacking those major board clears. And there's a Cenarius in his future.
Does have Wild Pyromancer with a Consecration and a Flashlight, but you are correct about the Cenarius. That is going to bring some beats. And so you look back to that Shrink Ray, and I think it got some work done, but
Let me think.
we may need to equality soon. And there's only 1 copy of that in the deck.
It was a really awkward turn because he needed to get cards out of his hand to play that Prismatic Lens. So the alternative line would like Prismatic Lens timeout. I believe he then goes up to 10 cards at the end of the turn, so he'll burn his next card, even though I think that was the more efficient way to play the 2 resources, to time out first and then Shrink Ray afterwards. Because you can see the trouble he's got in by doing it the other way around, right? Is that he's now timeouting without a plan next turn. So I then have to ask, was there anything in his deck that he absolutely needed to draw? And the answer is the second Holy Wrath is the 1 card that's absolutely essential to his game plan remaining.
I think equality is as well.
That's a good point. Okay. Really tough call, I think, on that, between the Novice Engineer and the timeout turns.
So
I think those are the most difficult turns of the game so far.
with 2 True Silvers in deck as well, the Zephyrus isn't active until that card shows up. Everything else has been drawn.
Okay. That is
Timeout.
number 2.
It's something. That feels like an important draw to me.
I wonder.
Flashlight, draw
yeah.
True Silver.
I feel like the really important draw is what comes off this Flash of Light.
So you're going to have 2 draws for it either way, right? It's this Flashlight and then the next turn.
Yep.
Timeout's coming down.
Yep.
Equality would be the
Let
1
me
card I think that
think.
could change his mind.
Or True Silver Champion, because then he can Zephyrus Brawl.
That is an option. I was kind of looking at using the timeout and then following it up with like a Zephyrus Nether, but that sounds like it's pretty slow. But that would let you get the True Silver in play with timeout.
Right.
There's so many different things here. So he's committed to timeout 100% of the time, of course.
Yep.
Draws Flashlight, so now you have another draw at that opportunity as well. So Jarla's plan is to weaken the board in case everything bricks, and then figure it out afterwards.
Then he can take enough off the board with the Pyro, the Consecration, and whatever other spells he picks up that he is at least alive on the following turn.
Very Jarla play, where he's like, okay, well, in the disaster scenario, how do I make sure I'm checked on all sides?
Yeah.
That would be how. Also opens up some hand space. Don't know if that's relevant anymore. I actually don't think it is. But he is working towards the Holy Wrath turns, and I think he is pretty close to home free. Wow, and he whiffed everything. Like, of course Jarla whiffed everything. He accounted for it.
It's still not good news, though. Even though he accounted for it, he is still in a ton of trouble because of it.
I don't think he is. I think him accounting for it was the way that he avoided trouble here, because he still has a Consecration in the deck. And so he gets a Wild Pyro, Consecration, Flash of Light the Wild Pyromancer. His 4 mana left over afterwards. Then the Zephyrus gets active, he gets a set of True Silver Champion, like just...
Okay, but what if those aren't the cards that he draws?
Well,
Does pick up the second consecration.
So now you have to commit both the consecrations. So that was a bit of my concern, was the Flash of Lighting Self. I'm curious how important Flash of Lighting Self is in that scenario. Because that means he has to use both consecrations? In my mind, I was just willing to accept some damage.
Well, he has to anyway, right?
Does he have to?
If he draws the second consecration, he doesn't use it. That's,
no, you're right,
that's the board. He can't just leave. Like, that's what I was talking about the whole time. Like, it wasn't that good unless you got the second consecration.
My math was wrong. Oh, my. Oh, boy.
Do you accept that he was in trouble because
the
he didn't
bottom two
break
cards are 2 silver champions!
Do you accept that he was put in trouble yet?
He's put in trouble by the freaking deck!
Yeah.
This is the second time this season we have seen this happen. It happened with Fino in week number 1.
Let me think.
I feel like we saw it yesterday as well, didn't we?
Both True Silver's bottom cards?
Well, no, a duplicate being the bottom 2 cards is what I'm talking about.
That was in the RDU match.
Okay.
Really weird. I'm talking specifically this Paladin deck with 2 True Silvers.
Okay. I do not recall.
Oh my gosh. Because it is a little unusual to have 2 True Silvers in this deck. It's not the exact list that Hunter Ace was playing. Yeah, it's a lot of times that second True Silver becomes a subdue, and that's actually affecting the game right now.
It is. And Jarla now just feels pressured into having to reshuffle his Shivala, which he can now draw a Shivala again next turn.
Yeah, he's just going in. I don't blame him.
He's going to take a 50-50 for 25 right now. What? What? Unclear on what happened, I'm going to be honest. It felt like Jarla's feed clipped as well. I don't know whether he did have any connection issue and he was actually trying to commit the Holy Wrath at the end.
Are you kidding?
That is some bad news on all fronts.
So we apologize for the connection here. It's obviously, sometimes stuff like this happens. We're going to get this resolved as quickly as we can. We're going to await admin word on this to see what the actual issue is. It was very clear his intent was to Holy Wrath there. And my gosh, what a weird position.
I mean, even so, you can't measure intent, and that was a straight 50-50 outcome on what the 25 damage was. So, like, what that means in terms of the rules, like, I don't know. I didn't write the rules. The rules are there, and hopefully the admins are enforcing them if it wasn't able to reconnect. But he is able to reconnect, so now we're stuck in a position where Jarla looks like he wanted to Holy Wrath on the previous turn, but wasn't able to.
Engaging TC-1
Game continues.
dislocator.
No Shivala draw. Jarla's position actually improved by not playing the Holy Wrath on the previous turn.
Results. They're a lovely thing.
25.
Oh my gosh. No way. He's facing down 14, which means Seiko needs 10 from hand to kill. He has no way to generate it outside of Zephyrus, so the question is, would the Zephyrus be active? Oh, no, you need way more than that.
He just plays Shivala, yeah, he just plays Shivala.
I forget that you don't have any bankers left because you used them already.
These are just there for the heal now. The question is...
I see exactly what the question is.
Yeah.
Rip it, rip it.
I mean, you take a 50-50 for lethal right now. Like, your options are 4 damage or lethal, and your alternative is 4 damage.
Let's go for the lethal.
Right? From the True Silver champion. The difference is you have the True Silver then loaded up on the following turn as well, so you can then play it. It also matters which card you then draw on the following turn off the Holy Wrath flip, because if you have a Shivala in your hand, you can plow through Hidden Oasis with the True Silver equipped. Hidden Oasis is what you're scared of, so this is correct because you get 8 damage over the 2 turns with the 2 True Silver swings, and then you use the Shivala to attack through the 6/6.
I believe that is accurate analysis, but I'm going to default to my 50-50. What a weird way. I did not foresee this ending.
Yeah.
What to do?
And Seiko's pressure is just crippled by the way this has panned out.
Well, you never want to see a disconnect in a situation like that, but boy, did it make life interesting.
It's just 50-50 either way, right? You either don't draw Shirvallo or you do draw Shirvallo. Like,
yeah.
either way, the outcome.
We just saw the weird other side of it.
Seiko says I need to wade proactively to answer.
Cards.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me?
Boom!
I'm out of cards.
Are you kidding me? That's like, that exact pan out is like 8% to happen. Because he needs to land both the Holy Wraths, right? So the first thing first is he has to not draw the Shirvallo on the first 50-50. So that's 50%. Then he needs 1/3 of that time for the Holy Wrath to connect for 25. Or I'm sorry, 2/3 that time.
Yep.
So that leaves us at about 36.
You're actually going to do
repeating,
this.
of course. And then it's another 50-50 after that. So
Yeah.
it is a bit higher, I think, actually.
I think it's a little bit higher than that, yeah. But also,
13.3 repeating?
you have to consider, like, the 50-50 that he took on the turn before, you get that 50-50 the next turn anyway, because you just have a 50-50 on which card you draw, and it's the same thing. Like, 50% of the time, the Shirvallo's in your deck. So I think the crucial turn there is playing the True Silver Champion, because it actually maximizes your chances of damage over 2 turns, because sometimes you then get to Holy Wrath for 4, plus Shirvallo for 0 through a taunt, plus Zephyrus for extra damage after all of that as well. It got crazy towards the end. I'm sure Jarla has a better way of breaking it all down than we do, so let's talk to him instead.
Yeah, let's find out. Jarla, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. What's up, guys?
Wow, what a way to end that series at the tail end of that one. First thing first, walk us through your thoughts at the end of that game. Talk to us about what happened, and then also about the standout moments in this series to you, things that you found particularly interesting or difficult for you.
In the end, I DC'd for a while, so I couldn't play. I played my Holy Wrath, but it didn't get played, so I got super stressed, but I got back, and then I think I got lucky, but I think I could win anyway, unless he has second heal. So, yeah, I think I was in decent spot. Overall, in the series, I was surprised that he protected his Shaman. I wasn't expecting that at all. And then I decided to gamble and play Warrior in first game, and I got rewarded. I queued favorite matchup that I wanted, but I lost anyway because Boom was like bottom like 10 or something. I don't exactly remember, but that game was pretty unlucky, I think. Then Priest got win, so that was easy. And the last game, the last game was pretty stressful. I needed like equality earlier. Then I had to go for like the Pyro and double conk clear, and my equality was useless. So it got pretty messy in the end.
Speaking of Warrior, what made you bring Bomb Warrior this week and not Control Warrior?
Basically, it was for the Mirror and OTK Paladin. But in general, I think the Control Warriors is just better overall. And after submission, I kind of regretted that I brought Bonfire, because they didn't have Paladin. And after playing it more and more, my win rate was actually super bad with the Bonfire.
What specifically made it so bad? Was it just that there was no Paladins on the other side?
Yeah, Paladin and Mirror. I mean, I lost the Mirror anyway, but I think it's pretty favorite when you play Elysiana and at least like I had.
Okay.
Against Controller.
I do want to talk a bit about Shaman. That's one of the, I think, the breakout decks of the last 2 weeks is the powerhouse it's become. What about Seiko's protection on his Shaman surprised you so much?
I mean, I expected Protect Priest because it's the best deck in the game right now. And his Shaman isn't that great against me. I think it was only good against my Warrior and I guess against Druid, but he banned Druid. So.
I just want to say well played. 4-1 now. You're off to a great start this season. Hope we get to talk to you plenty more in the future. Well played.
Thank you. See you tomorrow, guys.